So I wanted to come on the blog today and show everyone a creation I made by request from a friend on Facebook. She had seen my Batman room sign that I made for a friend and wanted to know if I could make one for her son and daughter. And so I started with her son, Joey, who wanted an Avenger'S room sign. I used my Silhouette Cameo designer software, and my Cricut Expression 2 to make this sign. And then I also used, the only cartridge I used for Cricut was the Formal Occasion, which is the cityscape in the background here. So let's dive right in. I have a lot to show you, and I know that I don't have a lot of time. So the first thing we have to do is we need to download these Avenger guys. I am a huge proponent of the print and cut feature on the Silhouette Cameo software. And so what we need to do is we need to download those Avengers. And you can find them by hitting Hero Squad and then look up each individual one. So we'll start with Iron Man. And then you're going to hit on your images. And then what you're looking for is just the image you like. Now the bigger the image, the better the download. So what I mean by that is if you go to the image and you hit more sizes, it's going to bring up all your images. And the larger you have, the more detail you have when you print it. So you're going to want to go to the largest size that's available. Once you find the size you want, you can hit right click and save image as, and you're going to save it to your desktop. Okay? So you're going to go through and you're going to do that for all the different characters that you want in the picture. So on mine, for example, I have Iron Man, I have the Hulk, Captain America, Thor, and I also downloaded Nick Fury. I didn't use him. I ran out of room, but I did download it. And once you've downloaded those, you're going to go ahead and be able to bring them into your Cameo software. So there's Nick Fury, there's Thor, Captain American, Hulk, and Iron Man. Okay? So let's go ahead and go into our Cameo software here, or Silhouette Designer software. Now, a note is you do need the designer software to do this. If you just have the standard software, unfortunately, you cannot import files from other sources. You can only get them, I believe, from the Silhouette Cameo online store. So if you haven't upgraded to that software, you're going to want to. Since we're doing the print cut feature, we need to set up our Cameo here, or our designer software. So you want to make sure you have your registration marks and how you're going to print. So I print on 8.5 by 11. Now there's couple ways you can get the images onto your mat. The one that I prefer is I like to just click and drag from my desktop. So here's my Hulk graphic. If I just click and drag him and bring him into my software here, it's as easy as that. Okay, so that's one way. The other way is you can actually import them into your files. So you can go to import to my library and then just find which one you want to import and save it. And when you do that, it will show up in my own designs. So there's the Hulk again. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and bring the Hulk in. Now he's going to be huge because those files that I told you to download the biggest size, it makes it a lot larger. So we're going to want to resize him, which is this little option up here that is called the scale window. You want to make sure it says lock aspect ratio, so he stays within ratio, and I did him at 5 inches. So there he is. Now right now, if we were to print this and cut this, we haven't told the system to cut it. So we need to tell the system to cut this. Now if you just hit cut edge now, it's going to cut around the box, which we don't want. So we need to actually trace around Hulk. The first thing we need to look at though is any external sources that we don't want. So as you can see in this photo, there's this little brown thing here. I don't want that. So I'm going to go over here to the eraser. We're going to erase that. And then we're going to go up to here where it says trace window. And we're going to select trace area. We're going to draw a box around Hulk. It's going to turn him yellow. We're going to take the high pass filter off, and we're going to bring right here where it says threshold all the way up. And then I bring it down to about 97, and that way it does a nice curve around him instead of that jagged. And on him, we're going to hit trace outer edge. So if we move Hulk out of the way, as you can see now, there is the tracing. So now when you go to cut, you're actually going to see it's going to cut around the Hulk. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to draw a box around Mr. Hulk here. We want to group him, so if we move him around, it groups with that cutting. Now the one thing that you don't see in this photo is the layering I did. So with the Hulk, and it's hard to see, I actually put foam squares underneath his arm here, and underneath his arm here, and his leg, and I raised those up. So in order to do that, we have to cut two Hulks. One for the first layer, and then one where we raise the arms up and the legs up. Okay? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right-click on Hulk, and you're going to want to duplicate him. Okay? And there's our second one. And because we duplicated him, it's already cutting around him. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and print Hulk, and set him off to the side, and then I'll show you how I built him using the foam squares in a minute. So we're going to do that with all the different characters. So Captain America, let's actually start with Thor next. Thor is the same process. So you're just going to make sure you resize him. I did him at 5 7/5 inches. The reason why I did him taller is it does the inches all the way to the top of his hammer. So if I only did him at 5 inches like the Hulk, he would not be the same height. He would be actually a little bit shorter than the Hulk. So as you can see here, I wanted his hammer to go a little bit above, but his head's about the same height. Okay? So now on the Thor guy, we also need 2 layers because I raised up his cape and arm over here with his hammer. And then this portion of him and his legs are on the base layer. So exactly like the same concept as we did the other one, we're going to go ahead and we're going to trace around him. Take off our high pass filter, turn it all the way up, bring it back down to about 97, trace outer edge. Okay? And then once again, we're going to group him. And then we're going to duplicate him. And then we're going to go ahead and print and cut those and set them off to the side. So the only thing else I wanted to show you is, as you can see in my photos here, my Captain America and my Iron Man, I needed to flip around. Because, for example, if we bring in Iron Man here, his arm right now or his arm that he's punching is off to the right, and I wanted that to be off to the left to make it more of a centered look. So in the finished product, you can see his arm here is off to the left. So all you have to do on this one is the exact same thing we've done in the past. We're going to go ahead and resize him, and we're going to do him at 5.25. And before we trace him, we're going to go to this option here that looks like a little circle flower. And we're going to go ahead and mirror right. And that brings him and flips him over. Then you can actually get rid of your last image. And we're perfect. Okay? So just like we did on the last one, we're going to go ahead and trace him. Select our trace area. Turn off high pass filter. Bring it all the way up. And then, like I said, I like to bring it down down to about 97, trace outer edge. Okay? And then once again, I did layering on him as well. So on him, I brought his left hand up right here. And that's the only thing I brought up on the Hulk. Oh no, I take that back. I brought up his whole body off of this back piece here. Then I brought up his hand from that. So I actually used 2 foam squares. Foam squares in between this, and then foam squares in between this and this. So he actually had 3 layers to him. So you're going to have to cut him 3 times. Now, the last one, the reason I wanted to show it is Captain America, is because his tracing was a little bit different. Okay? So what we want to do is let's go ahead and bring Captain America in to my window here. Now, the same thing, as you can see, Captain America, as we flipped him. So he is facing to the left here. And so let's go ahead and do that first. Let's resize him. And he's at 5.25. So we want to mirror him. So we're going to mirror him right. Get rid of that one. Now, the difference on Captain America is right here and right here. When we trace him, if I just hit outer edge, it's not going to cut here and here, which we want it to cut there and there. So when we mirror, or when we select him for his trace, we're going to select him, and then we're going to still turn off high pass filter, but we're going to want to bring up our threshold all the way up to 100 and then back down to 97. And on this one, we're actually going to hit trace, not trace outer edge. Now, if I move him out of the way, as you can see, it's going to trace then here, which is for this arm, and here for right here. It's also going to trace one of his eyes, a little bit of his eye, which we don't want. So if we select that and just take your, you can release compound path, or you can just take your eraser and erase that, just like that. And then all you need to do is you do need to bring him back and line him up. So that way when it cuts around him. Okay? That's the only difference between him compared to the other ones. Now on Captain America, his is just 2 layers because I raised up this arm. This one you can see his arm's a little bit raised up. So I raised this part of him up and I raised the shield up. Okay? So that takes care of all of our characters. So all of our characters have been cut out. And we'll show you how I built those and the different products I use. The only thing else we have to do is this here where it says Joey's Room. Now, in order to do that, you do need to download a font. And where I get the fonts is defont.com. And if you just search here for Avenger'S, bring up some different options. So there is all these. I downloaded this one that's called the Avenger'S Heroic Avenger. So just download that and install it into your software. And then once you've done that, we can actually go ahead and load that. Now, because this is not a print and cut, I'm going to go ahead and take this off and go back to a 12 by 12. Now, to do the font, we're going to go right here where this A is. We're going to go up to here where this A is. And then we're going to select that font, which was Avenger'S. I just passed it. And this one is Joey's Room, so. And I always put about 4 spaces in between my letters to give it a nice, as you can see, if we just do 1 space, it's still pretty crowded. So I do about 3 spaces. Okay, there's Joey's Room. And I wanted to make it about 2.5 inches tall. Okay, so there it is. Now, around it, you can see I did this background in red and blue. And I cut that out in the Silhouette software. Now, what I did to do that is I drew a box around it, and I went to this offset. I hit offset, and it draws all these crazy offsets for you. But if you click well, first of all, let me say that I didn't want as much room around the letters. So right now it's at a 0.25. Let's first reduce it down to a 0.20. Now, once I unclick this, it will automatically combine, because as you can see, it automatically combined all of those. Okay? Now, I don't like how this one is separated, so you can fix that by doing 2 different ways. You can bring this over and move everything down, or you can just go back and take away some of the spaces. And then the other thing you need to do is go ahead and go around this one here. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, guys. Let me actually go back. So we want that to be 2 inches. Oops. Okay, so now we'll actually go back to our Joey's room here and now make sure it's all grouped. So we're going to go back to our offsets. Bring that down to 0.20. Hit apply. There we go. And then we got to do an offset again because we have to do that second offset. So we're going to do another offset there and another offset there. Okay. So, and then you just need to separate that and print it on the colors that you want. So this one I just did on white, red, and blue. Alright guys, so that takes care of it in the Silhouette Cameo software. We're going to go ahead and open up Cricut Craft Room so I can show you the sizes I did the background, and then we're going to put together the project. So once you're in Cricut Craft Room, you're going to go ahead and want to go to your formal occasion cartridge. This is a great cartridge. It's got a lot about formal occasions, but it's got these amazing backgrounds of different things. So the one we're going to look at is of a cityscape, and it's on layer 1. It's right here, and I did it, I believe, at 6 inches. I'll let you know here in a second. Oh, I actually did it a little bigger than 6 inches. So I believe then I did it at... I did it as big as it would allow, up to 10 inches. So I did it at 5 inches. Okay? Because the frame was 20 inches, so I needed to be 10 inches each way. So this will take care of the this one here. Oh, sorry about that. That's my... So this one takes care of this one here, so we need to do another one over here. And that was easy. All we need to do is duplicate this. So we're going to go ahead and bring that in. We're going to copy. Then we're going to paste. There's our second one. And then we're going to go ahead and flip it horizontally, just like that. And that's it. Go ahead and cut that on black paper. And we are done in Cricut Craft Room. And that does it for that. So the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and put together our project. Well, I want to apologize to you guys, first of all. Unfortunately, all the video I showed putting this together has disappeared. And since it's already put together, I can't go back and recreate it. So I'm going to go over kind of what I did, and hopefully you can kind of understand what I did. We'll go ahead and start with this background here. All I did after cutting this out of black paper, once again, I did use the Formal Occasion cartridge. Here it is on Cricut.com if you haven't seen it. That's the cartridge I used. And all I did was take some gray ink, some silver ink, and white ink, and I dabbed different spots on here. And then I cut out different colors of cardstock in the windows to make it look like lights were on. That's the only thing I did on the background with the Formal Occasions. Now, up here on the room sign, where it says Joey's room, I used a pattern paper here with blue with white random dots. It almost looked like a white spray paint on it. And then on this portion here, I actually printed this out on red cardstock, and then I used some washi tape. So if you've never used washi tape, I didn't bring a picture. It's like a Japanese tape. It has a consistency of kind of a medical tape. And all I did was use, as you can see here, stripe and dot. And I ripped it up into different size of pieces, and I just put it on my cardstock, and I went over the whole thing from from start to finish. So it gave it a really cool textured look. And I would say I ripped them in about probably anywhere between half size inches all the way up to 1 inch. And then I just literally just started putting it in random spots until it was completely covered in it. Now in the Joey's room, I cut this out on white cardstock and then I painted over it using the Ranger enamel accents. And it comes in black and white. So I took the white enamel accent and I went over all of Joey's coloring, or using that paint to go over it. And I did use almost a whole bottle doing this, but it gives it a nice glossy look. So when you're looking at the picture, it's nice and glossy looking. And then I did use foam squares, and I'm sure if you've done any craft, you'll see foam squares. These are the ones I use, Treasures, Front Treasures, and I like these because they're a nice thick foam squares, so it gives a nice dimension. And that is in between the blue and the red, and then I used my Xyron design runner to put down Joey's room. So there's no foam square in between that. And that was all I did on the room sign here. Now let's go ahead and start right in with Thor. Now once again, I'm sorry I don't have the video showing how I put this together. But all I did is like I said in the Cameo instruction video, I cut out 2 different Thors. I used foam squares to raise up his arm here with his cape, and his cape, arm, and hammer here. Okay? So there is foam squares in between those to give it some dimension. And then I used some silver brads here to give it a nice silver look, brad on his chest here. And then on his feet and on his knee pads, once again, I used the enamel accents right here. But I used the black, obviously. And it gave it a nice shiny look just to kind of make it pop. And that was it for Thor. Now, the trick on this is when you cut this out, obviously your Silhouette Cameo cut out the main Thor twice, but then you have to hand cut out his arm here with the cape and hand cut out this portion again from the other one and raise that up. So that is all that I did for him. So if we go over to the Hulk, now Hulk, once again, I used those foam squares to raise up this arm and this arm, and then also to raise up his leg to give him a look that he's jumping out at you. The only thing I used here is I used some of Avenger'S stickle glue, which I have a picture here. Now this comes in, as you can see, a multitude of different colors. I used this purple one here, and I just did the outskirts of his shorts here. And I wanted to give it to the look that his shorts had been ripped, and that's why I brought that. And then on the same thing using the Thor, I used that black enamel paint on his hair right there to kind of make that stand out. And that's all I did on Hulk. Now, Captain American's a little more complicated. So what we did here is I used that Ranger Stickles glue here, and I used it in the red color, and I used that here, on his arm, on his chest piece, and on his legs. Now, I used foam squares to raise up this arm and this shield. Okay? So those are raised up and those are raised up. Now, on his pants and on his chest, there was all these lighter blue dots, and I wanted to accent those. So what I actually used is they are a company that is called, I think it's Sakura, and they're called Glaze 3D Glossy Ink Pens, and they come in a multitude of different colors. I actually used this color right here, this darker blue. And all I did is I went, and where all the lighter blue was, I just put the dots in, and then I colored all of his pants here. Because I wanted to give it a nice, glossy, three-dimensional look. And then on his chest where there's a star, and on the A here, and on the star here, I used, once again, that Ranger enamel accents in the white. And then on his feet, I used it on the black. Okay? Yay, Captain America. And let's take a look at Iron Man. So, Iron Man, obviously, he is metallic, so I wanted to use metallic pens. So, everywhere you see this gold, right here on his arms, on his, anywhere that was basically gold on the printout, I used, by the same company that did these glaze pens, I used the metallic. They're called Jelly Roll metallic pens. And there's the gold I used. And then there's also a red color, which is right here. It's like a deep red color. And I used that on his chest here. Right there, all the way down through here, to give it a nice metallic look. So essentially, I then outlined his hand here in the gold, and all around his helmet, I used gold all along here, in here, 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 and all on this arm. Now, the foam squares on this one, there's a foam square in between this part of his body, right here, and in between this blue haze here. This part of him is actually attached directly onto this. There's foam squares in between basically his chest piece and this blue haze, and then there's foam squares in between his hand here and his other hand here. So I had to print this one out 3 times to give the different dimension. And once again, I'm sorry I lost that footage, or you would have seen me putting this together. Now, I did use the Ranger's Stickles glue in this blue color for his eye, around his eyes, his chest piece, and this haze behind him. And that's all I did on him. So I really wish I had a picture that I could show you the different depths on all these on the foam squares. But when you cut these out in the Silhouette Cameo, you're going to have to cut 2 of Thor, 2 of Hulk, 2 of Captain America, and 3 of Iron Man. And when they cut out, it'll cut out the whole thing, and then unfortunately you're going to have to go back and hand cut. Like, you're going to have to hand cut this portion away from Hulk and this portion away from Thor. And then you'll just end up building those guys, just like I explained to you. So once I had them all built, I just used some crafting glue to glue them down on the board. As you can see here, I used crafting glue to glue this down on the board. And the last thing I did is I added some stars. So here is some stars that I added. Now where I got those is I got those at Joann's, and they are Favorite Findings buttons, patriotic stars, and they come in all these different colors. And then I have a tool that you can, because on the back of it, there's a spot where you can actually put thread through it to sew it onto a piece of fabric. And I have a tool that can cut all those off nice and flat. You could really use any stars you wanted to put on there. And then for the very background, I just used a sky blue paper. So that's how the piece came together. Once again, I do apologize that I don't have video to show you how I put together each of those elements, but hopefully you can figure it out by just the way I explained it. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. As always, thanks for watching all my videos, and always thank you for coming to my blog. I have a blast doing this. I really hope you enjoy this project, and I'm making another project for the same customer. It will be a Harry Potter, so I'm excited to show you guys how I did that one. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. Thanks again.